Hello, good people. This is Jason Irvin, aka The Janitor, here bringing you another episode of Wash, Rinse, and Repeat. Now, today's Monday, February 25th, and we're going to be continuing to bring that security news to you, keeping your security IQ high. So, this week I have three good stories. It's nothing too deep, nothing too devastating, but three good stories that I think you'll find interesting. So, the first story has to do with Medtronic. Here we go. I'm about to attempt to say this right without messing it up. Defibrillators. Defibrillator. There we go. And those Medtronic defibrillators are heart monitors that actually people are using their Wi-Fi, and a group of security researchers have discovered that they have some serious and actual life-threatening flaws that, if under the right circumstances, could be exploited to result in death. So there's two big issues that are in these defibrillators, and the first one is its lack of authentication. So that means when it's communicating between the defibrillator and the defibrillator device and how the device is interacting with a patient's heart, there's no actual authentication to verify if it's been tampered with. So if somebody under the right circumstances is able to intercept the communication between the defibrillator device and how it's talking to the heart monitor, they could modify that and ultimately change the settings and also the display of what somebody could see. They may think that everything is okay when it's actually not, so they can just really tamper with that device. And since there's no authentication on there, no one would really know the difference. And the second thing that goes really hand in hand with that authentication is the encryption. So the encryption, the communication between the defibrillator device and what's controlling the heart, there's no actual encryption between the two when those two are conversating. So everything that's happening is actually being displayed in plain text, where it's not encrypted. If you were able to get into that stream, which these data researchers have been able to do, then they can see what communication is going back and forth, and again be able to change that and tamper with that. So that's all bad news, as I have family that have heart defibrillators as well. So what do? Do they go out to the hospital and tell them to snatch out these defibrillators out of their bodies? No. Since security researchers have been doing their job, they're on it, they're looking at it, and Medtronic is aware of it. They are fixing it and getting ready to patch the defibrillators to prevent any malicious intent between that. Now, it is very important to note that the specific criteria to hack a heart monitor is very specific, being a certain distance, having the right tools, having the right devices to be able to even interact with it. So it's not something that, if you know somebody that has a Medtronic defibrillator, that they need to go and complain to their doctor about. It's just something to be aware of, and just to know that it's happening. This is what it's coming to. Hackers are now able to, tamper with things that are dealing with life and death situations with people's hearts. So, that was the first news story. The second one has to do with Facebook. Facebook has been in the news. I just believe everything is really, when you're a big target, everybody's going towards them. They are messing up and not really doing their due diligence, I guess, with security and privacy. But in this case, they did discover in January that internally that users' passwords were being displayed on some of their systems in plain text. That means that it's not encrypted, but it was only on their internal system. So people that work within Facebook that had access to these specific servers would have been able to see plain text passwords. Now, you know what I would say about that. We've been talking about it, on the news a lot between you and I. Two-factor authentication. With two-factor authentication, even if your password was to be compromised in that way, in a plain text, in this example, the way that Facebook is being, the way they were handling their passwords internally, that two-factor authentication would be able to notify you, and then you would have to again have that code that was sent to you on your phone to be able to fully log in if somebody internally did take advantage of your password. So nothing to do really too much with that either. They're fixing it on their end, and you, since you watch me, already know that you need to already enable that two-factor authentication onto your account to prevent stuff like this from happening. So the last story that we have real quick has to deal with PuTTy. Now, if you are into IT, anything, and you've dealt with SSH or Telnet between systems, if you don't know what that is, this probably isn't for you. But if you have done that, then you've, throughout the course of your work, used a application called PuTTy. Well, PuTTy right now has a new update that you definitely need to go get and apply to your systems if you're using PuTTy on your day-to-day. And it is version 0.71. It fixes about 8 flaws within PuTTy. And for more details about that, I don't want to make this video super long. The link will be in the description below. You can take a look at what changes and fixes that the PuTTy 0.71 fixes. But in the meantime, you need to make sure if you're using it in your day-to-day tasking and system administration, even internal, like I use SSH for my home systems, for Windows and also for Unix, Linux types of systems. Make sure you go to PuTTy, update it to version 0.71, and you'll be good to go with that. So let's recap. Medtronic defibrillators. The security researchers have found, ways that they can actually hack into it and modify what's the communication between the system and the heart defibrillator, the thing that's actually sending shocks to patients' hearts. And that fix is on its way, and security researchers, kudos to them, were able to discover that and let Medtronic know about the situation. The second one had to do with Facebook and them having clear text passwords on their internal systems. So if you start seeing emails coming to you stating that, hey, your password may have been compromised, this you know what they're talking about, why your password may have been compromised. But compromised internally is a little different than being compromised externally, where everybody was able to see a password dump of your plain text password, not an encrypted, but an actual plain text password. And you guys know, because I always said two-factor authentication, make sure you enable that. And even though this is something that is a problem, it won't be as devastating to you if you enable two-factor authentication on your accounts. And then the third one had to do with PuTTy and the SSH Telnet client, and that you need to make sure that you go in and get those updates from PuTTy website. So go to Google, type in PuTTy, update to the new version 0.71, and life will be good. So those are our stories. Quick, simple, painless. And I'm Jason Irvin, aka the janitor, and I'll see you guys next week. Stay focused, never quit. Go.